So, hi Sam.
Hello.
How are you doing?
Good,
you all right?
thank you. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad at all. It's been a bit of time since we've had a chat about music and various things like that. And I think the last time we did some music together was down at Abbey Road, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's been a while.
Yeah. So we're having a chat about music. So and drums specifically because we like drums.
Yes.
Both of us love drums, drum people. So why don't you tell everybody how you got into drums and why you went for drums in the first place?
I think I started drums back in school, doing drum lessons. I'd done music before. I did guitar first, and I found it really difficult. It didn't really click straight away. And I was a lot younger then.
Yeah.
Then I tried out piano. I think that clicked with me a bit more. I really enjoyed that. And then I thought I'd try something new, like school offered drum lessons, which I don't think is not always that common in a lot of schools. Normally it's more guitar or brass or something like that. So I was like, I really want to give it a go. I had friends who did it and they were recommending it to me. I did my first lesson and it just clicked straight away. It was just very natural. Obviously, didn't sit down and I was like Steve Gadd on the drum kit, but I sat down and I felt very comfortable.
Yeah.
Felt like it was my kind of instrument. And then from that, I stuck with it throughout school. And I did music for my GCSEs. And when I did, that was more like a drum folk. I looked at it through like a drummer's perspective. And I just kind of fell more and more in love with playing the drums. That led me to want to go and pursue it as a career and education-wise. So once I'd left, I decided to go pursue drums at BIM Birmingham, and do a college course there for 2 years. I did that college course and it kind of opened everything up for me, opened up loads of doors. Had to deal with all COVID and everything, which was a bit of a crazy time, but that taught me a lot of recording skills, a lot of stuff to do at home. And then from that, I was really like stuck in with it then. It made me want to do it for a degree as well. So I stuck at BIM for another 3 years doing a degree course. And through that, I've played many, many gigs, festivals, had recording opportunities. And really loved every bit of it.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, so did you get into because I know my son's at school, because you went my sons. They did like a I suppose it's a percussion thing. Did you have a go at that once?
I did the percussion group with Rob.
That's right. Yes, and Rob's my son.
And we did that for I don't know how long that was. Did that, and I don't think I ever did. I think I only did 1 or 2 shows that they did.
Concerts, yeah.
But through the percussion leader Bethan, she introduced me to doing another it was like Birmingham concert band.
Yeah.
And I did that with Ben, one of mine and Rob's friends. We both went there and did percussion. I had a couple other friends who were in the orchestra as well. He played different instruments, and did a few concerts with them. I was lucky enough to do Symphony Hall and the Birmingham Conservatoire.
And Symphony Hall. Wow.
Yeah, and that was a crazy thing because I wouldn't have thought I'd like step on that stage, not for a long time. And although it was amongst many people, still very crazy moment.
I suppose it's a bit like for me with Abbey Road, when you sort of walk through those doors, and it's a funny story because originally when we were thinking about going and recording down Abbey Road and doing my album Some Light Shines, we weren't sure whether we were going to use drums at all with it. We just didn't really know whether there was going to be drums, whether there wasn't. And then what we decided to do was because Rob, my son, plays drums, Harry plays a bit of drums, we thought, well, we'll do most of the songs with the cajon.
Yeah.
We'll just use the cajon. And we'd been speaking to Ian Palmer as well, who's the nephew of Carl Palmer from Emerson, Lake and Palmer, hadn't we? And I thought, basically, if we're only going to we were thinking about using the drums throughout the whole tracks. And then we thought, as I said, no, let's put it down to cajon, and maybe we can do one or two, drum sort of versions with full drums in of one or two of the tracks. But we ended up actually, because you just sort of came in and we said, oh, what about Sam? Sam could probably do one or two of them, couldn't he? Just in case, because Rob, basically, my son, was a bit scared, really. I mean, and you can't blame him going down to sort of Abbey Road and sitting on a drum, you know.
I mean, so was I. Very scared. Yeah.
Well, there you go, and it's a shame, but it is just what happens, isn't it, in those environments, because I think it's like gigs as well. When you go to a gig, I mean, if you go and do a gig, people have paid money for that gig.
Yeah.
And of course, you've got to perform, haven't you? And you don't want to let anybody down. But so to cut a long story short on the Abbey Road thing, you came in, you sat on the drums. It sounded amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're in my studio playing away merrily with my two friends, Rob and John, and Seth was there as well, wasn't he? Seth, the wonderful keyboard player. And it just changed from doing one or two with drums to doing all of them with drums, apart from one, which Rob played on piece by piece, didn't he?
On the cajon. Yeah.
So what was it like? I mean, I've just heard you say it was scary.
Well,
you didn't look scared.
I've done a few studio recordings before. Yeah. And a few informal ones and more formal ones. Mm-hmm. I mean, the university had a really good studio, which I still use sometimes now. But it was just... It was just
the clock going on in the background. That's all right, don't worry. Carry on. It won't pick much of the clock up. But this just proves it's live. We're not lip syncing it. No, there's no miming going on here.
Definitely not.
It's proper stuff. No. So sorry, carry on.
I think I get. I mean, not as much anymore, but I still do. I mean, every drummer does it. Yeah. Really get red light fever when they're playing.
Oh yes.
As soon as they know they're being recorded, it's like someone just wipes your brain clean and you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
And I was very worried about that. And I was like, I've done recordings before. I know what I'm doing. I know how it works.
Yeah.
But it was I think the knowledge that I was sitting in Abbey Road.
Yeah.
Countless of drummers that I look up to and am inspired by have sat there, maybe even on the drum stool that I was sitting on, if I'm lucky. And it was just the whole experience it was an amazing experience. But it was very, very daunting. But I still think I kind of somehow don't know how to really explain it. Almost felt like I tried to imagine I wasn't there. I was just in any studio.
Right.
And that kind of made me think, wow, I've got to do what I've got to do. Get the drums sounding good. I've got to focus on my part and make it sound good and enjoy the music as well as enjoying where I am.
We were all doing that. I mean, I was sitting there thinking, what am I doing here? I mean, and I'd organised it, really. But so there's me sitting there in my own little booth, and we'd sort of isolated me from so that we'd got some opportunities to, if you guys had done a brilliant take and I'd completely screwed up the vocals, then I could have redone that, and vice versa, because they were both plug-in instruments, the bass and the lead guitar, Rob. Rob, it's a new name for him. So Rob was playing the lead. It's not really lead guitar, it's sort of a rhythmy lead, isn't it? It's like a funky sort of thing he does. It was brilliant. And then John with his bass again. There's not an acoustic instrument, it's electric instrument. So you were in with the the drums were in with them, weren't they?
Yeah,
so
that was another very different environment for me. Because whenever I'd recorded before, it's just drums on their own. You're sat in, you lock in. Yeah. You're not playing with anybody else at the same time. You just got a track in your ears.
Yeah.
And more times than not, a click as well.
Yeah.
But this was very different. Like, you didn't really have a click go in. It was more of a live band, which I think made me settle in a little bit more because I felt the music rather than trying to lock in with a click while reacting to the music. I was just reacting to what was going on around me. How do you find
a click? Because I mean, it's a question that I don't know. I think nowadays it's probably less of a question than it was sort of 10 or 15 years ago, because, well, maybe longer than that, I don't know, but basically it was put the fear of whatever into most drummers having to play to a click, because yes, you can play to a click, can't you? Playing to a click quite. When you try and come to do a fill or something sort of out of the ordinary, for someone who's just starting to begin to learn with a click, it's difficult to make sure you're back in on time after the thing. So how do you find it?
I think from very early on, playing to a click was kind of drilled into me. I mean, I still practice with one now. It's like a case of, can you practice and hear the music in your head and actually have no music playing and it's just a click playing? But you imagine what you're playing and then you can find sort of areas of your playing that need tightening up, whether that is like a fill or a groove. But I think when it comes to playing live, I've played with like a range of different bands, and some of those bands have used backing tracks before, and it's never a miming backing track or sort of it's always like an enhancement of whether it's like slight backing vocals or extra keys or synths or something. And obviously, if you're not locked in with that, it can make your performance sound very strange. Or same in the studio as well. I think I find it a lot easier than I think a lot of people that I know. I know a lot of people really they hear the word click and it really like strikes fear into them.
Yeah. Well, me it does, because I'm old school, you see. Old school drumming means not a lot of click. Click's not my thing really. However, I can do it if I'm forced, if I have to. But we didn't use a click at Abbey Road. And I think we literally tried to play the song from beginning to end, didn't we? So yeah. And I don't think there was any. We didn't do any cuts on it, and some of them we only did 2 takes. Yeah, and they were just.
It was just quite natural. It wasn't. You weren't thinking about, am I locked in? Am I this? You're thinking, am I feeling the music with everybody else?
And it sounded brilliant, and I was so pleased that you came along and
I really enjoyed
did it. Not that Rob wasn't a good drummer, but he was. I think he was absolutely relieved. To be fair, that you took the drum throne,
and he still got to have a bit of fun with the cajon as well on the other track.
That's it. Yeah. Well, I mean, I've been to Abbey Road in, was it 2015? I think I did a day in 2015 as well. So I've sort of got a bit of a feel and know it's just not as bad as you think it might be.
No, I agree. No. It's not. It doesn't have that doesn't have like a sort of scary or like strict environment. It's very. It does make you do feel comfortable in there, which is needed for a studio.
One of the things I think though is, I don't know whether you felt it, but you can sort of feel the presence in some ways. I mean, I'm not, saying spiritually or anything like that, but it just seems you know who's been in there. I mean, starting with bands like the Shadows, for instance, and the Beatles, and we used the Beatles, mixing desk for you. So you all the drums were going through it was mixed through I think it was a 4-track mixing desk that was used by the Beatles, and you can tell, you can hear it's just got like a very slight distortion on the drums, but a warmth distortion that you get from it. It's a lovely sound. Very. So when let's go into something else now. So when you're listening to music, because what I used to do when I was a drummer, I still am a drummer. I still do a bit of playing. I'm pointing over that way because that's where my drum kit is. It's hiding behind here. So I can't even reach it there. There you go. And when I used to listen to music that was being played by other bands, I'd got homed in on the bass, and that's all I could. A lot of the time, that's all I could hear was the bass, and I'm like thinking, I could put this sort of drum beat to that. So, do you get that sort of thing? But do you also get an imaginary click in your head sometimes?
Sometimes, yeah, I do. I mean, when I started, I was very much always listening to the drums, and that led me to lots of different drummers and how they play and how they approach it. And as I've kind of progressed musically, I do find myself now like listening to the bass, listening to how everything complements each other, how the drums complement, how there's no like sort of overplaying, or even if there is, what is the choice behind that. And I'll sit and play along to songs now, whether I know the part really well or not, and I'll sit and play anything else and different rhythms, different styles, and see how that fits in and see how that changes the whole experience of the music that I'm playing along to.
Cool. No, that's good, because it does. It is a listening game. It's very much a listening game. You've got to be really honed in on the listening. I mean, there's a lot of good drummers out there. Maybe you could go through some of your favourites, some of your inspiration drummers.
That's a very tough question.
Yeah.
One of the hardest questions, actually, I think. 'Cause it's always changing. And I think I'm always listening to many different people, whether if they're like really well known, whether if it's just my friend who also plays. And I think some of the big, obviously Stuart Copeland's a big inspiration. I really like Gavin Harrison. I'm constantly listening to other jazz drummers, more modern sometimes, like Yusuf Days, or like even varying to just as far as I can out with different drummers. And sometimes I still like getting to know what their playing's like, and it's kind of how their playing fits into different environments.
Yeah. Did you see that guy who played on YouTube? And I don't know, he's the most precise drummer I've ever seen. And he punched the bass. Did you see him punching the floor tom?
Yeah.
He was obviously getting so frustrated that he couldn't quite get it right.
Yeah.
You see him punching the floor tom before. And, you know, there's a lot of... I don't know in the drums, but I know there is with guitarists. I know there's quite a lot of fake out there as well.
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever encounter any of that on YouTube, whereby it's probably more difficult to do with the drums, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because if you're just doing, you can hide what you're doing with the guitar a little bit, can't you? But probably not with the drums.
Hiding your playing for drums is such a difficult thing. I know a lot of guitar players who will make content for YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, any social medias, and they'll have their guitar track recorded previously, and then they'll mime themselves playing, and they can get really cool videos out of it and some cool content. But it's kind of, they'd love to sit there and just play the song in one take and play it, but
does red light syndrome?
They get red, and whereas for drums, you can't really pull it off, because you've got so many different limbs that you got to think about, different fills, and one tiny little movement.
You're looking at one thing as well, aren't you? Mm-hmm. So you're looking at a left hand, a right hand, a right foot, left foot. You know,
if you're playing chords
it's not
and
like
guitar,
five fingers or a plectrum. You know, and you can move. You know, unless some people do sometimes if they think there's like a fake thing going on, they'll sort of slow the guitar down, won't they, and pick it out and go, this is a fake thing. And I don't really like it, because I think what the biggest problem of doing fake things like that with guitarists, I know we've moved on to guitarists, but we'll go back to drums in a second. But basically, the person that's watching is inspired.
Yeah.
Right? So they think that that's what you can do, you know? And I think sometimes it lets everybody down. And I don't know about you, but when my friends used to say to me, have you seen that new thing that Stuart Copeland did on for me it wouldn't have been YouTube then. It'd have been something else, you know. And a video somewhere, and I'll get the video and we're watching. You instantly feel like you want to give up, you know.
Yeah.
You get to a point where and then a couple of days later you think, no, it's all right, I'll get going. But it isn't easy, is it? It isn't easy. And how do you find sort of, I don't think I can really sort of ask you to see the difference between what it was like and what it is like, because you only know what it is like.
Yeah.
And of course, obviously, because you're very young and because the COVID hit, which pretty much killed off a lot of the, the live music scene, just went out the window.
I saw the kind of back end of that happen. I think when I was actually really kind of getting into it, that's when things really started to change. But for my first year at college, the music scene was very much like busy, go. Like there's a lot going on, a lot more interaction in like many different aspects, and a lot more going on. And then I remember, then obviously you're sitting at your house and you're like, well, everything's online. And I learned a lot about recording and remote recording during that time, but coming out the other side, seeing like gigs slowly get bigger again.
Yeah.
But then people are still kind of cautious, and it's made a lot of people really cautious. And it's got back into it now, but it's still, I still know, and I've still spoke to people, and they've told me that like how the changes that have happened, and it's not the way it was before.
No. So like what is the scene sort of like now? I mean, do you play still to sort of packed audiences? Has it they started to fill up a bit, or as you just said, they're not like they were before?
Well, I think, not to get too political with things, but but things like, say, for like the cost of living crisis, when it comes to going to a show and supporting a local band or something, in certain scenes and certain aspects, I feel like it's not as encouraged anymore. Well, it's not even that it's not encouraged, it's not as possible for people as it was before. But say there's like festivals, they're always full, they're always packed, and that's a big thing that everybody goes to. And I think that's really brought a lot more to music, and that's something I've noticed is festivals really do it for people more. Everything's more social media based now, so people find you on social media.
It's like YouTube, isn't it, as well? I mean, you can set yourself up as a band in a way on social media, as it were, like, and mostly YouTube. And I mean, I started my YouTube channel probably many years ago, but I've only started making content for it just before, about Christmas. So and it just didn't seem, I was just put the odd video up here and there, over the God knows how many years it's been, but very, very few. And now I'm starting to release on a regular sort of basis, sort of 2 videos a week or 1 video a week if I can. It'd be great to do some more interviews like this. It's nicer than, in some ways, than talking over like sort of, not Zoom, but that's that sort of thing. You're actually in the room. And again, when we're going back to sort of talking about things like COVID, in the room wasn't a do. You couldn't do it, could you? No. A lot of the stuff meetings and everything was being done over Zoom, wasn't it?
And a lot of things still are now.
Yeah, exactly. They still are. Some ways I prefer it because you do actually pinpoint a time, and you can talk to people from anywhere in the world. Yeah, it does work. But I think it's still better. It's still nice to get some in person.
Of course.
So whilst we're here, let's talk about Drumeo as well, because we're both fans of Drumeo, aren't we? So maybe you tell me what you like about it, and then.
Well, since I started playing, like I've watched Drumeo videos, and it's helped introduce me to many different drummers, styles. It's taught me a lot of different things, and it's just I think it's just a good platform, and I just think, for a drummer, I know that they've started branching out for other instruments now, and I think especially for drums, it just really, really helps you like find what you like, what you don't like, different drummers that inspire you, different music, and it's just. And it's entertaining as well.
Well, yeah.
Especially for a musician. And even non-musicians. I know loads of non-musicians or guitarists or piano players who watch Drumeo, and they get an insight into what it's like playing that instrument, whether they want to pick it up after that or whether they take that and apply it to their own instrument. I just think it's very inspiring.
I like the one where they... what was that doing now? They've got those like little portable kits, like the little portable drum kits, and they were all having a go. And what they've got to do is they've got them racing up the driveway or whatever it was. They'd got to set the kit up, and then they'd got to record a tune, pack it down, and then get back home. And I think there was 3 drummers that sort of had a go at doing that, and I really like that. But the other one that I really liked is when Nick Collins came along, and did Nick come into the studio of Drumeo? Can't remember, or did they go to him? I think they might have gone to where like a setup room.
Yeah.
With Phil Collins, because they'd got Phil Collins' kit there set up, if I remember rightly.
Yeah.
And didn't they? I think they invited Phil in to come, and he still can't play. It's such a tragedy that he can't play. He was my inspiration, Phil Collins, and there was Brian Bennett from the Shadows, who I know is old and all that sort of stuff, but if you ever get a chance to listen to his drum solo called Little B, that's what it used to be called, and it was actually on their live albums, the Shadows live albums, and they had something called. Have you ever heard that or not?
I haven't.
Have a listen to it. You might like that. So what's next for you then in the music scene?
Well, I play for 3 different artists at the moment. And they're all writing and recording and getting as much stuff as they can done, working very hard. And throughout that, we have many different gigs. Hopefully, quite a few festivals this year. Had a few last year, and hopefully looking for more to pick up more. And it's just for them, they're finding their audience, and for me, I'm kind of finding I'm supporting them and recording for them and playing live for them, but I'm also, next step for me is to kind of find some other ways of kind of being able to make money from playing as a musician, so I can pursue my drums full time.
Starting a YouTube channel or something?
I have thought about it. I'm not sure
to do drums.
What content I would do, because I've done some covers and I've got some little bits on like Instagram and TikTok and things, and have thought to maybe start doing some YouTube stuff, but something to just be able to pursue music more full time and be able to just be gigging all the time and recording all the time is what
Which is it you like the best, or are they both? I think for me, with recording, more pressure. I mean, live gigging with the drums, I can hide behind the drums. If I ever did I don't do it now, but when I did, I'd set my cymbals up so I couldn't be seen from wherever it was, and then I'd be playing along. The rest of the band would be terrified, and I'd walk on stage. I wouldn't be bothered at all. It's very odd for me because I'm normally, if I'd got to go and stand out front, I'd be absolutely petrified.
Yeah. So
which do you sort of prefer, the recording or the live?
I really like the studio environment actually, and I think it's because I like watching a song be created and knowing that's then there forever and that we've recorded that and anybody can go and listen to that. I do really love playing live, but for me, I always feel like more could go live for me than in the studio. But it's always just how prepared you feel, and studios can still throw you a lot of curveballs, and same with live, but I'm happy doing either. I do really love the studio environment though, and I love sitting behind the drums and working for different people and providing ideas and hearing their ideas and creating an amazing piece of music out of it. Because
people out there might not know, unless they're drummers, how much the drummer adds to the music. I mean, we would say that because we play drums, but I'm a guitarist, a vocalist, and play a bit of keyboard and everything, and I can honestly say that if I'm doing a song with a rhythm, with a beat of sort of 4, that's where I'd start. Yeah, I'd start with that rhythm, the beat, see what's going on. Tempo is very important with a song, so I'd start with that. And the people like sort of I don't know, Ringo Starr. I mean, let's talk about him. I mean, he's not the most technically proficient drummer in the world. Everyone knows that. Yeah. But if you listen to what he did with the Beatles, then he added to the songs in a way of, I suppose he adds by taking away. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, adds. He also has a very unique sound, style, like almost texture to the way he plays, and he knows when to not play, and that impacts the song just as much as when he is playing. If not, sometimes it can affect it even more.
Yeah.
Whereas if you could stick thousands of drummers in the Beatles and it did sound like a good band, but he just had a certain character.
Exactly. And then you go the other side of the fence to the technical drummers when you've got like the Police with Stuart Copeland, as you said before, with Stuart. And Stuart was a technical drummer.
Yeah.
Also, he was very much into, I mean, Ringo sat at the back. There's no disputing that he tended to sit at the back and just pretty much do what was asked of him.
Do his job.
Yeah, did his job, Sat there with the tea towel over the over the snare drum and just did his job. Stuart didn't. He did do his job, obviously, he would have done his job, but he also shouted about it as well.
He was a performer as well. Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. Have you seen that concert that he played at the college? He did one at a college somewhere. It's a live one of the very early ones.
I have, yeah.
Yeah. My God, the drumming ability there. Him and Andy Summers sort of like rock solid together, and there's not much going on with the sound either, is there? It's like 3 instruments, and it is just full.
Yeah.
Such a full sound they got. No, the Police really, really good, weren't they?
Yeah.
So what about Mike? Is it Mike Portnoy?
Yeah.
What do you think of him?
I do really like Mike Portnoy. I think he's really good. I mean, I really like a lot of prog stuff anyway, and it's not, I would never class myself as a prog player or a good prog player in any sense. I think it does become very confusing, and it's like maths on drums, but players like Mike Portnoy, Gavin Harrison, bands like Rush and Yes, and all of those sort of bands, I think they're just technically above, so like such high proficient players that big inspirations. Whether I can play like that's another story, but
I think it's a memory thing though, isn't it? Because you've got the skills. We know you've got the skills, and the basic fact is it's linking those skills together into, as you say, a map.
Yeah.
Now, some of them do write these things. I mean, a lot of drummers have got a chart.
Yeah, I've seen some of Mike Portnoy's ones that he's shown on YouTube and other drummers, and it's just numbers and numbers and time signatures, and it's just craziness. And
but prog rock's like that, you know. So it's one of those things. Anyway, Sam, thank you ever so much for coming and saying hello, and we'll do it again sometime.
Yeah, definitely.